The Minnesota Vikings are moving on from Aaron Rodgers, but they shouldn't be. That and more on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready. Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome in to the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert, the data queen, Michelle Majuk. On today's episode, we're going to talk about some potential rule changes coming to the NFL. We're going to talk about the Giants and their need to trade up for Cam Ward, but we will start with the Minnesota Vikings moving on from Aaron Rodgers. Before we dive in, I do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen and for being an everydayer here with us at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. So we got all the news on Wednesday that the Vikings are moving on from Aaron Rodgers. They're officially no longer interested. It's full steam ahead on the J.J. McCarthy train. And quite honestly, Michelle, I disagree with that. I think that if Aaron Rodgers is available and if he wants to come there and if they can sign him, that they should do so. This is a team and a roster that's ready to compete right away. And I don't trust J.J. McCarthy, who's a rookie quarterback, basically coming off a major injury, to get the best out of this version of the football team. Sorry.
That is the silliest thing I've ever heard you say. Why in the world, if you're Minnesota and you spent the 10th overall pick on a quarterback last year, he didn't get to play at all because of the injury, not give him a shot, all to take a chance on a 42-year-old quarterback who doesn't seem to even put in any effort into his game at this moment or carries a locker room, just cancer. And you're going to bring him in, pay him a lot more money than what you're paying J.J. McCarthy, but also still paying J.J. McCarthy. And in what world is Rodgers just going to set you up for a Super Bowl win? He hasn't won a Super Bowl in 15 years. He has won one. He's been on good teams before. I'm sorry. When he went to the Jets, that's all they needed was the quarterback. They have all the skill players. They have the defense. They just need Aaron Rodgers. And guess what? They still sucked with Aaron Rodgers. So you go with the young kid, see what he can give you, because that's a franchise changer. And you might have a guy for the next 10, 20 years instead of hoping that Rodgers can bring you to something he hasn't done in 15 years for one single year you have him.
Well, I have to admit, I was low on J.J. McCarthy coming out of the draft, so I'm low on him now. I think they have made a grave mistake with taking him. I don't think he's a good quarterback. But here, besides that, I will admit that bias, but I'll say this. Last year, they wanted J.J. McCarthy to have a development year. He was not going to beat out Sam Darnold no matter what happened. Well, he got injured. And he didn't get that full development year on the field, in practice, every day. Blah, blah, blah. So I think that how they viewed J.J. McCarthy last year can't be that much different than how they view him this year. And that's why I think that the Sam Darnold factor, they might want another Sam Darnold this year. And J.J. McCarthy's super young. And we saw Jordan Love. Jordan Love got his big contract after playing for one season and sitting for 3 years. There's no need to rush J.J. McCarthy, who's only 22 years old. Like, he was a younger prospect and expected to need development anyway. I just don't think that they need to rush him out on the field. And I don't see how they're way more confident in him now than they were last year when he's been injured the whole time.
I can't agree with you on this one. I'm actually really excited to see what J.J. McCarthy can do in this offense. And also, I think Kevin O'Connell last year showed that he can do it with any quarterback, right? You brought in Sam Darnold, who's
that's fair,
been the worst quarterback in the league since he was drafted. Like every metric showed that before last year.
Yeah,
brought him in, and if he can get Sam Darnold to throw 30 touchdowns and to get them to a 14-3 record, right. I do think J.J. McCarthy can handle that, and he has Justin Jefferson to lean on. You have to see what you have out of McCarthy. This is the time to do it, and they sped up in free agency, right, on defense and on the offensive line as well. So they don't. This is the time to spend up because you have the rookie quarterback, but it wouldn't be if you go sign Rodgers for $40 million a year.
And you're not wrong about that. My guy Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings, the brain, he talked about what the plan is with JJ McCarthy.
What do the Vikings think about JJ McCarthy? If you look at the way that the Vikings have structured all of their contracts, I think it's a really easy thing to parse. I think it becomes very clear what they're doing. They have borrowed every dollar that they can from 2026. Everything. They have spent it all ahead of time. But they've done it all on 2 or 3 year deals. So the money the 2026 money that they are spending is going to give them utility in 2026. It's all going to be players that are on the team, unless they want to start cutting guys or whatever. But there's so much of that is restructurable, and that's a really important part of this, that it's not going to be a big deal. I'll explain more in a sec. But the Vikings are essentially using 2 years worth of money at once to get as many players in as possible on 3 or more year deals, right? Jordan Mason's on a 3-year deal. Will Fries is on a 3-year deal. Even guys like Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, 2-year deals, that's okay too. Those are all meant to, it feels as though the Vikings are really going hard over a 3-year window of JJ McCarthy's rookie deal.
And look, financially speaking, that is a sound philosophy to spend up as much as you can while you have the rookie quarterback. I totally agree and buy into that philosophy. I want the Titans to consider doing that in the draft, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But my question then becomes, how good is a Minnesota Vikings JJ McCarthy-led team? Right now, you go on FanDuel, they're the bottom odds to win the division. So just how good do you think someone who likes JJ McCarthy as the starter for the Vikings, how good do you think the Vikings would be with him in year one?
I think they could do exactly what they did last year. There's no one who has less faith in Sam Darnold than I do. He seems like a great guy, nice guy, rooting for him as a person, but there's no one that disbelieves in his abilities on the field more than me. And last year he did, overplay what I thought he could do, but again, I think it was totally the system. I think he had all the weapons. There's a reason they selected JJ McCarthy number 10 overall. There has to be a reason for that. They must have liked him. You have to give the kid a chance. I also hate when these kids get taken to go to a team and then never get their opportunity. What a bad luck for them. Kind of like Trey Lance, just never got the opportunity.
Right.
So and maybe it could be like Jordan Love where he has to wait 4 years, but you might as well, you took him there for a reason. He got hurt. You landed something nice with Sam Darnold for the year, but then he also should have got to learn behind Sam Darnold too that whole year. So he should be ready to go and take over.
Well, there's definitely a mental learning side of things that he got to experience. The on-field, obviously, he couldn't, but the mental part of it is arguably as big.
Hopefully he didn't learn too much about the mentals from Sam Darnold. Don't take too much from there.
Yeah. That would be a dangerous game, but will be interesting to see if they do decide to go with JJ McCarthy, how that plays out during the season and what they think about that decision after the year. But with that being said, another big quarterback decision looms for the New York Giants, and I think they need to do what they have to do to trade up in the NFL draft. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Fast and easy hiring process. You post a job for free. It's simple. And within a day, you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like the experience of a big game in person. And now the college basketball tournament has begun, and getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Gametime comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. You have the Gametime Picks feature, which brings the best tickets directly to you for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Also, you have the lowest price guarantee where Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. You get a panoramic view from your seat, no surprise fees, and a ton of peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Michelle, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL. We talked about the Minnesota Vikings moving on from Aaron Rodgers and sticking with J.J. McCarthy. Now we need to talk about another team impacted by the Aaron Rodgers saga. Mylanta, it continues. But that team is the New York Giants. And right now, I would say that it's more likely that Aaron Rodgers goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers than to the New York Giants. I think that is where we're at right now. And if we assume that does happen, then I think it's obvious that the New York Giants need to trade up for Cam Ward in the draft. Now, my girl Patricia Traina from Locked On Giants doesn't think that that's actually going to happen.
But anyway, you look at the Giants quarterbacks. So, they're interested in Matthew Stafford, who, by the way, they were all set to trade draft assets. They were set to make Stafford give him an APY, of $50 million plus. All right. For those concessions the Giants were willing to make to get Stafford, folks, I'm telling you now, they were not looking at bringing Stafford over here for 1 year. They were looking at him for multiple years. All right. Now, if they're looking at a veteran for multiple years, which, if I'm correct, and I do believe I'm correct on this, what does that kind of tell you about how they feel about the quarterbacks in this draft? Right now, everybody seems to be in the agreement that Cam Ward is going to be the first quarterback off the board. I believe he will be off the board before the Giants even get on the clock at number 3. I don't think, by the way, the Giants are trading up to get Cam Ward.
So this is what it comes down to for me. I think Cam Ward is a better football player right now than Russell Wilson is. Like that is just how I feel about it. And if they miss out on Rodgers and they try to go with Russell Wilson or, God forbid, Joe Flacco, something like that, like if your job is on the line as Brian Dable and Joe Shane, you cannot go into the season with Joe Flacco and a second or third round rookie who you're trying to develop. You simply can't do that with your job on the line. If that happens, they can't go with Wilson. They can't go with Flacco. They must trade up for Cam Ward.
Yeah, Brian Dable will be gone if they go with Russell Wilson or Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston or a quarterback like that. It doesn't mean he won't be gone if they go with Cam Ward, because to get Cam Ward, they will likely have to move up to the number 1 overall pick. Now, they're number 3, so it's not that big of a jump, but it still probably will very, very likely take their 2026 first round pick, right?
Absolutely.
And is not, I don't think it's a small probability that Cam Ward could maybe be bad, right? In his first year, not great. The Giants could be a really bad team. And it could be like the Panthers, where they have the number 1 overall pick that they have to give to the Bears because of that trade. Mm-hmm. This is all the worries, right, that would come into play, because I don't know how good they would be with a rookie quarterback this year. It might take time, and then you're going to give you'd give the Titans such an early pick the next year. It's hard, but if I'm them, I'm doing the move. I am, and it stinks that this draft class doesn't have that bona fide great quarterback, but I just think you need to take the chance.
Yeah, and a lot of people who are more qualified to speak on the draft than I, including our guys, at Locked On NFL Draft and Locked On Draft Dudes, think Cam Ward is worthy of being a top pick. It may not be Andrew Luck, Joe Burrow level prospect, but I think that Cam Ward is just as good as Trevor Lawrence. I know not a lot of people thought that, but you look at coming out of college and some of their analytics and things like that, I think the Cam Ward mirrors more. There's some great data recently coming out that you see with Cam Ward, and I just think he's good enough to be the number 1 pick as a quarterback, even if it's not considered an excellent draft class. And you're right, the Giants would have to give up a ton, but why worry about the future if you don't know if you're a part of the future? So I think that gives them the impetus to do it. The other side of this conversation, though, and ultimately, obviously, where I have strong feelings at this point is, if you're the Titans, why even let the Giants come up? You know, like, I'm in the trenches with the Titans, the team I cover, all that. But from your perspective, if you're the Tennessee Titans, would you even entertain anything other than like an unrealistic trade offer? Because you need a quarterback too.
They do, and it depends on how much they like Cam Ward, right? And how much, if they don't like Cam Ward that much, maybe you do that trade because you think, okay, well, we're going to get a bunch of picks from the Giants, and then hopefully next year we'll have a top 3 pick from them, next year to really load up, because I do think the Giants are in a little bit of a better spot with having the defensive pieces. They have some good defensive pieces. They have Malik Neighbors, right? Mm-hmm. They have a good tackle, at least. Like, they have some pieces, a lot more than the Titans. So the Titans have a lot more rebuilding to do. I don't think Cam Ward just comes in and fixes them whatsoever. They're going to need a lot of picks to do it. So that's why I think the Titans could be open to it.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a lot of sense in it. I think at the end of the day, and to be honest, locally with the Titans, the noise that Cam Ward is the pick has just gone through the roof. Now, that is either an Oscar-level job by Titans' new general manager, Mike Borgonzi. He's just got everyone in the market convinced they're going Cam Ward. And now all of a sudden, the Adam Schefters, the Daniel Jeremiahs, Mel Kiper, they're all mocking Cam Ward to the Titans at number 1. It's like everybody is like, oh yeah, the Titans are just going to take him. We heard from Patricia that she doesn't think that Cam Ward's going to be available. She thinks that the Titans are just going to stick and pick and take Cam Ward. And that's from the New York side of things. So everything is saying that. And again, either this is an Oscar level sell by Mike Borgonzi, or it's just the reality. So let's do this game. I guess if you're the Giants, you have Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, if you don't get Aaron Rodgers. Would you rather do that, or would you rather maybe go get like Jameis Winston? Or would you rather maybe, try to trade for somebody like Will Levis? Like maybe that's the trade the Giants can make with the Titans, is you go get something like that. Would you rather maybe take a chance on a younger guy in a trade or a free agent signing, or would you go get Russell Wilson and Joe Flacco?
No, what I would do is just take Shadur Sanders. If you can't get Cam Ward, I would just go with the next rookie. And at least then you don't have to trade away picks for him, right? If he is terrible year 1, he just looks like nothing, then try again next year. But the only way you could fix your franchise and have any hope of making it a deep run is by finding the quarterback. That's all that matters, is finding your future franchise quarterback. And unless you take chances, you don't get it. And I'm sorry, signing any of those guys you just named, you just have no hope. You're giving yourself zero hope right away for the future or even for this year. So just take the rookie.
Yeah, just give it a chance. I think that's one of the things that have swayed me being more, because I prefer to trade down, honestly, because of the things that we've talked about. But at the end of the day, you take the quarterback now, and I'm like, oh, well, there are going to be good quarterbacks in the next couple of drafts, I think. But, well, take Cam Ward. He doesn't work. You're in the same place you were with Will Levis. And then you just take another one in 2 years. You know what I mean? And you just keep doing it. You just keep trying. Because you're right. Like, you need to build up a good roster, but it's so much easier to build that roster when you know what you're building around at quarterback. So I'm with you there. I understand. If you're the Giants, just taking up. But the Browns, sounds like they're not going to take a quarterback. They want Russell Wilson. They trade for Kenny Pickett. But, like, if you have Deshaun Watson on that contract, you need a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, So it'd be interesting to see what the Browns do at the top of the draft as well. But with that being said, some rule changes may be coming to the NFL. We got the league meeting in a couple of weeks. We're going to go over some of the latest proposals, ones that we like and that we don't like.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL Talked about Minnesota moving on from Aaron Rodgers. We talked about the New York Giants quarterback situation and what they need to do in the draft. Now we need to look at some rule changes that could potentially be coming to the NFL. We have league meetings in 2 weeks. And at those league meetings, everyone, all the owners, competition committee, people are going to sit down and they're going to decide whether to make some of these changes. So we'll go through the big proposals here, whether we like them or don't like them. Before we do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen. Make sure that you check out the afternoon edition of Locked On NFL with Tony Wiggins in the barbershop breaking everything down. But obviously, the tush push, we heard about this one like a month ago. It's been brought up again. I am in favor of keeping it in. If you can't stop it, don't do it. I would be more for banning it if everyone was dominant with it, but only certain teams are dominant with it, which proves that it's a skill-based thing, not necessarily an unstoppable OP move that nobody can do and everyone does well. Also, I think if you get rid of the tush push, you got to get rid of being able to push your teammates. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most fun plays in football. It's like when an offensive line is pushing the running back down the field. Everybody's going, and everybody goes crazy. I don't want to get rid of that, and I think you'd have to get rid of that to get rid of the tush push.
Honestly, the Packers just look like little babies, even like doing this, like asking for this. It's so silly. Like the quarterback sneak is already super, super easy. Like all teams run the quarterback sneak. It's not all that different, but there's a couple teams who are really, really good at the tush push, mostly the Eagles, right? Figure it out. You get yourself a good offensive line. You get yourself a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds. Like, figure it out, Green Bay. If you hate it so much, get better at it. I don't know. I think it's silly. Also, I'm a fantasy girl, right? So I want more offense. I want them to be able to move the ball more often. I don't want punts. Right. Like, I don't want them punting or getting stopped. So, and then I love having Jalen Hurts and getting his 15 rushing touchdowns a year. So I'm against them changing this rule.
And I think the fantasy point that you bring up, while, personally gratifying as a fantasy person, I think the NFL does think about that stuff. And banning the tush push means offenses punt more, less touchdowns, it just means less points and less offense. And that is not what the NFL wants. At the end of the day, it's not what they want. Now there are some interesting ones. I want to bring up one that the Detroit Lions proposed here, and it's to change the playoff seeding to where wild card teams would still be wild card teams, but the seeding would be based on record. So if a wild card team had a better record than a division winner, which happens quite often, the division winner would not automatically be the higher seed. It would be seeded on record. What are your thoughts on that as a proposal?
I get the logic. Absolutely. Right. Like if you're the better team and you put up a great record, like I think it's so hard, right? Because we just got that out of the Vikings last year, 14-3, and they had to go on the road in their first game and they lost. Right. So I get that point. And then, but at the same time, it's so fun to just have the weird little quirks in the NFL. I kind of like that everything's not run so like logically. I like that there's different types of luck. I think luck is fun in sports. So I get the logic behind it. And I get a team that's 14-3 should not have to go on the road in the wild card round. But sometimes you just have bad luck. And then sometimes you get good luck. And I think that's kind of the fun of the sport.
Yeah, I don't care about fair. Like it's fair but I don't care about fair. Life isn't fair. Fair isn't fun. Okay. I'm sorry. The point that you're making about like the luck and kind of the chaos of it all. I have a good buddy of mine. He's a very analytical, logical guy, finance guy, and I'm kind of more of a shaman of sense. Like I'm spiritual. I just feel it. I go off instinct and stuff like that. And we argue all the time about rules for golf and for fantasy football and stuff. Cause human like chaos is so much better. I think that basketball has got more boring because they've just scientifically figured out the game. 3-pointers, dunks, 3-pointers, shots at the basket. Like if you're not doing that, then it's inefficient. It's bad basketball, but that's boring. Just the same drive, kick, corner three. I don't want like electronic umpires in baseball. The umpire, bringing them up. There's a performance. This is for entertainment, folks. This is for our entertainment. And it's much more entertaining to have an umpire ring them up or the chain gang go out and put the chain down and it'd be an inch short and the crowd goes crazy or a mid-range fadeaway shot in basketball. I don't want to quantify everything and make things so analytical as a society that we lose that human element that makes things fun and entertaining and special. So what I'm really trying to say is we got to make AI illegal. Shut the robots down. Shut them down.
I know there are parts of it where it's like we get so mad at the refs, right? But that again, just the up and down roller coaster of when they make a mistake, and then when your team actually benefits from it, it's like, ooh, like won't yell at the refs today. And then when your team, it's just it does make the sport more entertaining. I'm sorry, and it makes everything. Like, if there's nothing that ever goes off plan, it's just not going to be as fun.
Yeah, the wide spectrum of emotions and experiences and outcomes is what makes it so fun. Don't ruin the human element, folks. Just don't do it. Fun over fair. That's my argument. But the last one I actually think is awesome, and it's eliminating an automatic first down for illegal contact and defensive holding. Now, same thing. I don't think that this will go through because it means less help to the offense, but I do not believe that illegal contact or defensive holding before the ball is even thrown should automatically give a team a first down on 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 18 or something like that. So I'm for this rule.
I'm for it if it's like can they make it like on first down, then it doesn't like on certain downs? Because I do think if it's 3rd and 8, right, and you're just going to get 5 yards and this guy beats you off the line pretty quick, you're just going to do that penalty right away and just be like, all right, redo. Like you could get it from 3rd and 3.
If you do it a little late and the ball's in the air, it's pass interference now. Now it's automatic, like the timing.
I just think it would be too easy for defenses to kind of cheat on this. And I do understand, like, when I'm watching it and they get a free first down for something so stupid, illegal contact, especially when it's like 3rd and 15 and they just, illegal contact first down. Like, you get 15 yards for that.
Or a bump.
It is insane. So, like, maybe they can do it in different ways. Maybe it's a 10-yard penalty. I don't know.
Yeah, try to figure it out, and maybe instead of it being 5 yards and an automatic first, it's just 10 yards.
Yeah, I mean the offensive holding is 10 yards, so why isn't defensive holding?
Also, have to point out that now if they do that, the timing of when the ball is thrown is now in question. Because if the ball's out, it's pass interference, it's an automatic first. If the ball's not out, it's illegal contact or D-holding, and now it's not an automatic first. Now we're going to be like, we need to review when the ball was out of the guy's hand and blah, 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 and was it pass interference? It just opens up another can of worms. So I would imagine that it doesn't get changed, even though the spirit of the rule I agree with.
I agree with the spirit of the rule. But I think that's going to be a hard one to get passed through. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Execution seems difficult there. But with that being said, execution of the Locked On NFL podcast is at an all-time high. That's going to do it for us today. I am your host, the Madman, Tyler Rowland, with my co-host, the Data Queen, Michelle Majuk. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On NFL. Stay safe out there.
Bye, y'all.